What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports Morning Show. I am your host, Mangone. I am here with Hoop. We are talking some MLB, but before we dive into the MLB, obviously, congrats to Big T last night for hitting a nice little live final. It had a nice team. I think he went the Giants and the Angels stack. Got the job done with Rodon. It was one of those 4-3-1s on FanDuel because he had Rodon. And, when you play the Giants and you play Rodon, you have to do the 4-3-1 stack. So that's something, we can talk about when we kind of look at some lineups later on. But Hoop, let's talk about some NBA real quick because, playoffs are happening right now. We had some big games yesterday. Title, I don't know if he was in the Deer District yesterday, but I'm sure he's sad that the Celtics got the job done. As a Celtics fan, I'm kind of pumped. I can't wait to watch Chris Paul tonight. I think Chris Paul has a big game against Luka and the Dallas Mavericks. What's some of your overall thoughts here on these second round playoff games?
Yeah, I must admit, I haven't been following the NBA as close, kind of shifted to MLB, and PGA has been more of my focus. And when I'm not all in on a sport, I don't pay super close attention. But, I've tuned in quite a bit, and I like the Bucks in that series. But the Celtics, man, I think I'm just underrating the Celtics. I bet on the Nets in that first round. I bet on the Bucks in the second round, and the Celtics are playing solid basketball all around. Al Horford obviously had that big game, threw down on Giannis, and then that other series. The Warriors started out absolutely ice cold last night, and we're still able to win that game without Morant. It's going to be very difficult for Memphis. And then these other series, I'm pulling hard for Miami. I really want Miami to get the job done against the 76ers at home. They're favored tonight, and then Suns Mavericks as well. Exciting. I'm definitely excited to watch that one tonight. So it's fun. Playoffs have been great, and we'll see what happens here on the way out. And like you said, Big T last night, big hit in MLB. He's kind of been more on the NBA side for content, but got that MLB hit or the MLB hit last night. So congratulations to him.
Yep. Nice win over there for Big T. And the playoffs, I think you're holding a Miami ticket, so I'm sure you're on that Miami side.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Thanks for bringing that up.
I'm on the Sixers side there. I think the Sixers get it done, but we'll see. It should be interesting. I like the Celtics to beat the Bucks. I think it's going to be a fun series. We'll see how it all shakes out. I just they definitely need Robert Williams back, I think. But that's people do talk about that small ball lineup, like really unlock some stuff last night. But I do think it's nice to have what they did, but I don't think that's like as sustainable. And then I can't wait to watch Chris Paul tonight and all that. Have you seen the video of like the mom being touched and everything? Have you heard the full story?
I saw a little bit of it. Yeah.
So apparently, like, some people are like, the kid was just tapping the mom on the shoulder. It wasn't a big deal, but apparently, at least the mom said that he was constantly tapping on the shoulder and like wishing happy Mother's Day. And like, I think like the first time it was cool. Second time it was fine. And then she was like, okay, like you've done enough. Like, let's stop. And then I think the kid just kept doing it. Right. And then at that point, enough's enough. If someone tells you to stop doing something, you should stop doing it. But I'm curious to see how that works. And then Hoop happened to someone looked it up, happened to see the narrative. Chris Paul, he had his something tragic happened to his grandfather back in 2002. And then in high school, Chris Paul dropped 61 points. Now, of course, that was high school, but there's your narrative for you. Don't mess with Chris Paul and his family. So we'll see how it shakes out tonight. I'm playing some Chris Paul in DFS. I'll tell you that.
Oh, for sure. He's one of those guys, man. And if you buy those narratives, which I know you do, you got to be like, that might be close to a lock button play for you tonight.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's very, you don't mess with Chris Paul. Like, he's the guy you don't feel the fire on. I'll say that. So can't wait to watch that game tonight. Should be a lot of fun. And then I'm trying to think, is there any other games we could talk about? No, we talked about the Heat. Oh, the Warriors. That I don't know. Did you watch that game last night, Who?
Yeah, I saw. The Warriors started out like ice cold to start the game and still got the win. I don't know. It's Warriors is Morant like done, or is there any chance he plays?
Nah, maybe there's a chance, but I doubt it.
Warriors, likely to advance then.
I would, if I was John Morant, I would not play. If I saw Jaren Jackson shoot that three that he shot, I'd be like, okay, it's over. Like that. Yeah. That 3-pointer was egregious. Like the dude literally was pulling up like he was Curry. It was insane.
Tough scene.
Yeah, a lot of fun to watch. We got the PGA Championship coming up too. Not this week. That's next week. This week's, I forget what's this week's event.
Byron Nelson. It's actually a good field. I mean, it's been a while. It's been a rough stretch in terms of field strength for the PGA. And this one, some guys are turning out to kind of tune up for the PGA Championship. It's a pretty loaded field, not loaded field, but up top there's big names. You got your boy Scheffler, who got to give you a little pat on the back there. You called Scheffler, believe maybe 2 years ago. Actually, it was right around when RPS started, which would have been 2 years ago. You said Scheffler is going to be a guy that is consistently, I believe your take was, in like the 10K range in DK pricing. And here we are. At the top, he's 10-9. You got Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson's here, Xander, Zalatoris. So there's some big names this week. Then obviously the PGA Championship next week is going to be massive. So it's going to be a nice stretch of golf here as well.
Yeah, before we dive in and talk about some MLB, guys, please hit the like, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. I'll go through our schedule a little bit as well for this week and kind of for the next couple days. So this is what we got. Today, 4:45, MLB Swing for the Fences show. Obviously, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe now. That way you get notified when we go live. 6 o'clock, you'll have Big T. He'll be on there talking with Glock, talking with JSU, Holden. They'll be discussing the NBA stuff at 6 o'clock. So be sure to join for that. That's on the premium side. Then tonight, Hoop, you got the Strokes Gain show. So you'll be talking some PGA with AP and Snyder. Tell the people a little bit about like what the breakdown of that show is, because if you're not a golf fan, you better get going on it, because it's one of the better sports here over at Run Pure Sports.
Yeah, I mean, we do it every Tuesday night, kind of go tier by tier, break, go through the pricing, cover the top tier, mid tier, bottom tier, and really talk about almost every golfer besides some of the shitters at the bottom. But it's a full breakdown of the field and how we're applying these guys to our DFS lineups. And then Wednesday we have the premium show as well. So golf's a big part of what we do here at Run Pure Sports. A lot of success. We had some big hits last week. And, I think we continue on this week. A nice field, like I said. So excited to talk about it tonight with the boys. 8:30 Eastern, but obviously you can play it back and watch it at any point.
Yeah. So be sure to check that out. Should be a great show. And tomorrow we got the morning show, and it's me and DC. We're talking some MLB baseball. So that's going to be a good time. You don't want to miss out on that. That'll be, one of the earlier slates. Then Swing for the Fences at 4:45. Same thing, premium show for NBA, 6 o'clock. And then we'll have the Pin Seeker show. Sometimes it's at 3 p.m. Sometimes it's at 9 p.m. You know how Big T rolls, just depends on what time works for him. So be sure to check out that on the premium side. And then on Thursday, we're going to have a breakdown with me and DC. We're going to do both of the main slate. So there's 4 games in the morning and there's 4 games at night for MLB. So there's going to be no Thursday show at 4:45. We're going to be on at 11 talking both slates. We'll do the main slate first, and then we'll slide into the early slate afterwards. That way everyone can kind of listen to the MLB stuff all day long. So don't miss out on that. And then typical schedule, right? We'll have basketball stuff going on. Then the round 2 PGA showdown. Then we'll go into MMA. I mean, we got all the sports going on. So be sure to go sign up right now and check it all out. Hoop. What we're going to do today is we're going to dive in and kind of talk about a little bit of MLB, especially from, a SaberSims perspective, how to use the optimizer a little bit, things that you might do. I know you and I, we're definitely more of hand builders. We don't use the Opto as much. The way I use the Opto is I kind of run stuff and then I pick something out. I don't really run it for 150 teams, but there's a lot that you can do with an optimizer, and it just all takes practice and using it. What are some strategy tips that you use in MLB before we kind of dive in here? You're on mute.
Yikes. For me, I'm not a big 150 guy in MLB. I typically stick to 10 to 20 teams, and I'll occasionally run an optimizer to go through it and just see where things are landing. But I'm more on the hand building side of things for MLB. But if you are running an optimizer, there's a lot of key things to look for. And, the main point for me will always be to put some of your own input into it. Don't just, stick with what is there. make some cuts, don't play every pitcher, make some adjustments to projections. If you're really high on a guy, if you're higher than the projections, you need to put your own touch into these things, or you're going to typically end up in the same range as everyone else. You're going to kind of have the same builds. In baseball, that might be a little different, especially on like full slates where there's just so many more options, but you want to stick to the same building strategies that we always talk about. Make stands, pick your stacks, roll with them. Make sure you have correlation in baseball, which is basically stacking and having a 5-3 or a 4-4 or a 4-3-1. That's kind of what you want your teams to look like when you're using an optimizer for MLB. So for me personally, the most important thing is put your own touch on it, make stands. If you're only interested in playing 4 or 5 pitchers, make sure you just take everyone out, whack them all out. You don't want them in there. You don't want to get like 2% of a guy that's going to be 20% owned. So those are the things that I'd be looking for if using an optimizer for MLB.
Yeah, those are all great points that you made. One thing I'll say, and if you guys want, put questions in the chat. I think that's helpful. We'll definitely happy to answer anything you guys want. But this is how I would start it out. I would start it out by just like, first off, you just run the optimizer. I do this for most sports. I just run it like normal way. Like I'll just put it set as, let's see. I mean, basically this is like I typically like to run like more of like a cash game setup for. So we'll just run a cash game one just so I can see like, well, what is like the thing that, the optimizer likes, and whatever is kind of on here now doesn't mean it's what's going to be here later, right? Projections are going to adjust based on lineups. Like so many things can change. So keep that in mind. If you see like one offense is the chalk stack, don't think that, hey, because at 11:13 a.m. it was the chalk stack, things change throughout the day, projections change, but Saber Sim is being ran right now. So yeah, once we get this going, we'll see what the top arm is. I believe it'll be Justin Verlander will be in there a ton. Oh, I made the mistake of not changing 2 things. So I need to do that. Let me go back and do that. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, Verlander, I'm guessing, ends up being he's got Minnesota at home, 6 and another, one of those 6.5 totals that we've talked about, a lot of those. They're on the road actually, but yeah, he should be in there. I'm assuming quite a bit. Yeah,
that's my assumption too. So I'm gonna take like 2 guys out. We'll take out Senzatella and we'll take out Corbin. There you go. Those are 2 pitchers I guarantee we will not see on the cash chart today. I will tell you that.
Correct.
All right, let's get. So this is running. Saber Sim, give it some time to get moving, and then once it runs, we'll like I said, I like to run this to start, just that way you can kind of see what the teams are doing. You understand who the top arms are, who the top offense is, kind of gives you a good read on the slate without having to look at anything. Like you can just do it in like a couple clicks of a button. So I don't know why this isn't running properly on my end. I could be doing something wrong. I thought you just clicked the 2 guys out. There we go. Yeah, it should be good. All right, perfect.
All right. Business.
So right now it's showing Verlander, Clevenger as like the top 2 guys. And then you go, it looks like the Mets are like the team, and there's only 3 of them in there, but they're going against Patrick Corbin, right? One of the guys I X'd out. And Patrick Corbin's terrible. So that makes a lot of sense of why, but this is kind of the setup that we're seeing so far. And like I like to look at it sometimes because, hey, like it's paying up for Salvador Perez. Like I wonder why it's paying for Salvador Perez. Like, and that can change. If there's like a catcher in there that's 2K later on, that's in the starting lineup or gets a better lineup spot, that can all change. So that's important to note. But all right, I'm going to go back, Hoop, and let's actually start with this. I know we kind of built out the player pool for PGA DFS. Let's do that for the pitching here, and then we can talk about how to kind of handle the offense. Because I think I have some good like ideas that can help put your own spin on it that I think people will like. So how would you handle the pitching? I think typically, I like to do this. Let's just take all the pitchers out. No point having them all in there. Let's just put the guys in that we only want, because I know we're only going to want like between like 5 and 7 guys. I think it's going to be that simple. So I take them all out. I'm putting Verlander back in, right? Verlander against the Twins. That just seems like an amazing spot today on this slate. This seems like one I don't want to ignore. Would you agree at 10.4K? He's got to be.
Yeah. You definitely want Verlander in there. I mean, the next guy that I'm definitely bringing back is Aaron Nola in Seattle. A good ballpark there. He's been pitching quite well. I think honestly the biggest decision though on the slate is like what you do with like Robbie Ray, because people still continue or are continuing to play Robbie Ray, and he just hasn't been all that good. I mean, he sucked last time out. Last year he was pretty dominant. Robbie Ray, I think, is a big question mark on the slate.
Well, I mean, I think you could take the attempt at him, or you can go Adam Wainwright against Baltimore. The only thing is that, Baltimore is in St. Louis now, so they're not in that crappy park. And if I'm reading this right, it's 89 degrees in St. Louis? Like that's some hot hitting environments compared to 67 in other spots. I thought I would like Wainwright, but that's a little concerning.
Wind's blowing out there too. I mean, not a ton, but like 10. That's factor.
That concerns me. I'd rather go, who's definitely the better option who's just a little cheaper. Alex Wood against Colorado on the road. We just saw what Rodon did to him. Like, I think Alex Wood is a guy you definitely put on your teams. And like, I'm okay with not playing a Robbie Ray. You know why? There's a lot of good pitching on this slate in general. Like, it's definitely a good pitching slate. Joe Ryan against Houston. Joe Ryan's a good pitcher, but do I want to attack Houston? Probably not. Even like Giolito, that's another one. I think that's a pretty big talking point because I think he gains ownership just naturally because he's Lucas Giolito. But Cleveland does not strike out that much, and they've been hitting the ball really well. That's another guy that I personally think I'm going to leave off. The only way I'd maybe put him on there is if like you promise me he's going to be like 1 to 2% owned, but I don't think that's the case. I think he'll just gain some ownership no matter what. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm torn on him because there is upside. I mean, the strikeout, he has outs. Like in MLB DFS, if you're playing a pitcher that you're on the fence on, like how does he get there? He can get there and still give up some runs because he has that big strikeout upside. So, in tournaments, I'd probably include him just because, he's one of few guys on the slate that could go out there and get you 10 strikeouts. The cheap guy on the slate that's going to be owned and I'm fine going with is Clevinger, 6.9K. He's going to be relatively popular, but if you pair him and Verlander, which will be a pretty popular pairing, you can do a lot with your lineups. I mean, you can get access to any offense that you want. You can get access to even the expensive offenses on the slate by just playing a Clevinger in a good spot. I mean, he's 6.9K. He's a big favorite at home. The team total against him is like 3.25. It's just a too good of a price tag for me to pass up. So I'll definitely be on Clevinger, even though, he's going to be owned, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I put Clevinger in there. So the thing I think we'll do with Giolito is like when you run the optimizer, and I'm sure like when you build by hand, you kind of do this too. Like you're not going to build, like if you're making 20 teams, you're not going to slam in Giolito on 10 of the teams. He's probably only going to be on like 2 or 3 probably of you. And like, that's what we'll make sure to do. We'll put like a max of maybe like 10 or 20%. We'll figure it out based on what it runs. It's good to kind of look and see what it does first and then put those restrictions in.
See, I think the way the lineups that I play Giolito in is if, I'm building offense first. Okay. And I really like the fit that I have with my stacks. And I can't get up to Verlander. Let's say I'm $700 short. I can't make any concessions in my lineup. That's the scenario where I just say, you know what? I'll play Giolito. He's going to come in way lower on. The scenario can play out where he outscores Verlander and you have your offense, you have your bats set up how you want them. So those are the scenarios I think where I would play Giolito.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. What about Luzardo against Arizona? Arizona's not a great offense. So you can take advantage of them, but that's like definitely a better hitting environment on the slate than some other spots. So he's kind of interesting. I think Carrasco is interesting too against Washington. Like, I mean, there's definitely guys here that you can go still, but what's your kind of thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with Luzardo. I mean, the obvious issue is the price tag. What is he like?
It's 9-1. It's a lot.
Yeah. So that's the one issue. I mean, the one thing working for him is a lot of left-handed bats for the Diamondbacks. So they have to get a little bit different with their lineup because a lot of their best hitters are left-handed. Varsho, left-handed. Peralta, left-handed. That Pavin Smith, I believe, left-handed as well. So they have to change their lineup around tonight, which they will. They'll have different guys in there because of Luzardo. So some of their better hitters will be down in the order or potentially out. So don't mind him. I don't know. Like if I'm doing 10 to 20 teams like I typically do, I don't know if I'll get to him just because of that price tag. Like at 9-1, it's hard for me to play him over some of these other guys. Hard for me to play him over Aaron Nola. Hard for me to play him over Giolito. Hard for me to play him over Verlander. If you're doing 150, I think I would include him in the player pool.
All right. This is a loaded pitching slate because, like,
there's a lot of options.
Like, I'm scrolling around. Like, we haven't talked about Severino against Toronto. Like, I don't think that's a terrible idea. The upside he can have. He's at 7,900 too. So it's like a pretty good price tag there where you get a nice savings off like a Giolito on a Severino. So Kyle Wright against Boston, like Kyle Wright can certainly do well. It's an expensive tag at 10K, but I think he can get the job done. I don't know. Who are some other options here? Because it's definitely more of a loaded slate. And we currently have 6 guys in our pool, right? We have Verlander, Giolito, Nola, Clevinger, and Wood. Actually 5 guys. So I wouldn't mind adding more just because it's kind of like a loaded pitching slate.
I like to, if I can, I like to keep it tight at pitcher. Like I don't want to play like 10 guys on most slates. You're going to have trouble getting leverage. So then you start, how do you make cuts? And to me, like a guy I can cut and feel okay with is Severino. Like I like Severino. I've played Severino a lot this year. But, what's the reason you cut him? Well, he's going against Toronto, and they have guys that can obviously they have some of the better hitters in baseball. So that's a way that I can cut Severino. If he goes out and mows down Toronto, well, okay, then that's fine. You're not dead if you don't have like one of the top pitchers. Like you can get by, as long as you have the offenses. So I'm fine cutting a guy like Severino. Yes, he's been good. Yes, the price tag's fair, but matchup with Toronto, I'm good being off of that. I don't know what we have 5 highlighted here. I don't know. I'd honestly be fine with 5. Maybe add in your boy, Luzardo if you want. But Verlander, Nola, I think are the 2 key guys for me on the slate.
Yeah, one thing I like to look at, and I think you're in the same camp of that. I like to look at the strikeout props, and I don't know if they're all out yet, but like that kind of like I make my pool or like I look at the pitchers that I like, and then I go, okay, like let me make sure I'm not missing something based on the strikeout prop because that's something that
sometimes there's surprises. Sometimes there's surprises in there where you're like, man, this guy's like a big strikeout prop. So Severino's 5.5. I'll rattle off a couple of these. Kyle, you just mentioned Kyle Wright, okay? He's 5.5 with the juice on the over. So he's 5.5 and it's minus 145. How much is he? Oh, he's 10K.
He's a lot. He's expensive, but like, no one's going to roster him. Hoop. Like he's going to have like virtually no ownership, which is like
Luzardo's. He's got 5.5 evenly juiced. Nola's at 6.5. Robbie Ray at 6.5 with big juice on the over, but he's just hasn't been great this year. And then Alex Wood's 5.5.
I kind of like the Severino one. He's at 5.5.
Yeah.
I just think like the upside is there.
And he's cheap. He's relatively cheap, 7.9K.
Yeah, that's the one that's
big favorite. Wow. Okay, then you start looking at this stuff. Severino, he's minus 170 here against the Blue Jays. Blue Jays team total is just 3.25. So Vegas is loving Severino tonight, just loving him.
Yeah, I think Severino's a good one that we got to put in here. So we'll toss him in, and we definitely got a good pitching pool to work with to just like talk about for sure on this slate because it's one of the more loaded ones we've had.
Yeah.
There are some guys down here that could get the job done. Like, here's another guy that like surprising strikeout prop for 6.6K hoop. Like Kikuchi is at 5.5 with like the juice at plus 115. Now, of course, that's not great juice, but I will say, like, for 6.6K, like, if you're just dumpster diving, you can't go Clevinger or, like, it's just not the worst idea. But I'd rather go Clevinger. I'd prefer him over Kikuchi. Would you agree?
Yeah, I can't play the Kikuchi. Like, if I'm going to play a guy like him, like, he's got to be in, like, that 5K. He's got to be a 5K guy where I'm just like, all right, everything else works. I need a 5K pitcher. I'll play him. 6.6 is, like, a cheap price tag at pitcher, but in my mind, like at 6.6, you still have to do something. Like if you play these guys in the low 5s, if they go out there and get you 8 or 9 or 10 fantasy points, you can survive. So to me, like a big difference between like 6.6 and then the super cheap price tags where we see 5K or even 4K on some guys. So he's not a guy that I'll be playing tonight.
Yeah, and I'm actually looking at Robbie Ray. I was just curious. His strikeouts on the season. So his prop is 6.5. Strikeouts is 5, 8, 5, 4, 4, and 5. So hasn't has not hit that all year. He's someone I haven't been high on that much this year. So, yeah, I'm not super excited about it.
The price is fine. I mean, the argument for him, the price is finally down. I mean, it's 8.3. I mean, that's a cheap price tag. Can he finally get it going here? Maybe. You're not paying the full premium for him. He was a 10K guy last year. He's 8.3. At home in this pitcher's ballpark. It's a tough lineup, though. That's another knock against him. I don't know. I think Robbie Ray, what you do with him is the most important thing, because he will be owned because of the price tag and the strikeout upside, but he just has not been the same guy this year.
Yeah, it is an extreme pitcher's umpire, but I'm not going to do it. I'll say that.
Yeah. That's a spot where you gain leverage because he will be owned.
Yep, agreed. Let's talk about Corey Kluber real quick. I mean, I don't see myself playing him, Hoop, but I just want to take notice because there are some pitchers you got to just take notice on and look for the spots to play them. I don't think this is the spot, but if you look at his numbers on the year, he's been pretty good. Strikeouts are 5, 4, 3, 6, 7. He's had 16.3, 12.85. He had a 2 against Boston and then 26.3 against Minnesota and 25.1 against Oakland. The Angels are not the team I want to attack right now. And I don't think it's the right spot, but take notice for future weeks. I'll just say that. He's definitely a guy that if he ended up on the winner today, I would not be shocked, but I'm not going to put him on here. I just don't think I need to go there. If you want to add him to your pool, I wouldn't tell you it's a terrible idea, but I think there's other guys I'd prefer. So we got our 6. I think that's good. We kept it tight enough. I think it's a pretty good set. Before we kind of dive in and talk about some of the hitting, and I want to show you guys a little trick on SaberSim that I think you guys will like. I do want to mention a couple things. Guys, first, please like and subscribe to the video. It helps us out a ton. We appreciate it over here at Run Pure Sports. If you subscribe to the channel, you get notified when we go live. So that's what you got to do. That way you can find out when all the shows are going on. Also, if you guys want to sign up for Run Pure Sports, use the code GETBETS. You get an add-on for the first month of the bet side. And Joey Work's been absolutely killing it. I know Allie had a couple winners yesterday. So, hey, you got to get on over to the bet side and check all that out. Keg's got his live show that you can watch the live show. And when you watch that show, you get to, basically tail his picks when he's watching all the games. And it's a fun sweat and it's a good time. So don't miss out on that. Also want to mention the members never win segment because, we've had some nice wins lately. Simo won 40K in NBA the other day. Then we had Big T won 49K. He decided to show up. Simo won 49K in NBA on the weekend. And then Big T with another hit. He won an MLB qualifier last night. So congrats to him. He's making it to the FanDuel Live final, going to do his best to try and take it down over there for the Run Pure Sports crew. And if you end up qualifying, hey, you get to hang out with Big T. You get to hang out with Hoop, possibly, if Hoop makes it there. I don't know if he's gotten one yet, but Hoop, why don't you tell people a little bit about the FanDuel Live final? Because you got to hang out with Glock, and it was overall a good time, it sounded like. Yeah,
we're out in Denver area. It was last year, and it's kind of how I met Glock, actually. I mean, it's a good story, and Glock's a good dude, fun guy, just a nice, all-around good gentleman. And he's like, man, I want to, do some content for you guys. I like what you're rolling out. I said, absolutely. So he started on the NBA team and been, awesome addition to the team. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal on the NBA side. And he's really good in MLB and NFL as well. So once NBA is done, you're going to see him on some of these MLB shows and whatnot. Just a good all around dude. And the live final was fun. And I don't have a seat yet to either, but hoping to get in there so I can join Big T.
For sure. And then we had I think one more hit. Dante. Yeah, he won 13K in MLB. So nice hits from the coordinators, nice hits from the members over here at Run Pure Sports. One last thing they mentioned, NFL best ball is going on. There's a $10 million prize pool over at Underdog. So use that code Run Pure to sign up. New signups get a $100 match deposit bonus. So get in on that. It's free money. If you have not signed up, now is the time to do so. So Hoop, we have our pitching pool figured out here. This is something I wanted to talk about. So what's an offense today, Hoop, that you think is going to be a good offense? You look at the slate, you say, oh, they're going to put up a bunch of runs or maybe more runs than their implied total. You're on mute again.
It is a rough go here. The first offense that definitely stands out to me is the Mets against Corbin. Love picking on Patrick Corbin. The Mets have the bats, I think, that can make him pay the price. So the Mets are one that initially stand out to me. The Yankees for sure against your boy Kikuchi, kind of starting to hit a little bit. So I like the Yankees. It is, again, another slate where we don't have any like big team totals. I mean, there's nothing really over 4.5 on the slate. We just talked about the pitchers, a lot of solid pitchers. That means, we're probably lacking in offense, and that is definitely the case tonight. I like picking on Madison Bumgarner. I think the Marlins also have some righties that can take care of business tonight. So I'll be on the Marlins. And then another team that stands out is the Giants. Got the job done last night. It's a late game here, so ownership should be in check on them. So those are kind of a few that I'm looking at. I think an very interesting leverage stack is going to be the Phillies. I know a lot of people are going to be on Seattle today, or going to be on Robbie Ray today, and that will keep Phillies ownership low. So I think they're definitely a team to keep in mind for some leverage.
So this is what I'll do, Hoop. So if you're looking at the screen right now, you see all these team totals. All you got to do is you take the team total and you just bump it up, right? So like, let's say that we got the Mets at like on Saber right now has the implied total at 5, and then it has the Nationals at 4.2. So I'm going to bump the Nationals one down a little bit because I don't even like the Nationals that much, and I don't want to get too many of them. I'll bump down to like 3.5. I'm going to move that Mets one up to let's move it up to like 6, and then from there, all the projections adjust for it once I click apply changes to games. So all I got to do is click that, and then it's going to literally bump all the Mets projections without me having to individually do it, right? It's going to do it based on because I moved the run total up. I said, hey, the Mets are going to do better. On the flip side, let's say that the Braves, let's say they're an offense that I don't like today. Well, I can move them down to 3. That way I probably won't get as many Braves, but if I still get Braves, that's probably because the way the position is aligned, right? Maybe second base is weak, and that's why it's giving me Ozzie Albies. Or maybe it's because, hey, catcher's not great, and Travis d'Arnaud is just underpriced, and based on the run total that I have there, maybe that's why he's still popping in. You talked about liking the Yankees. Let's bump the Yankees up. We'll move them up to 5.5. They're big bats. They got some home run bats. We'll put that in there. What was one of the other ones that you said? I think you mentioned the Marlins against Bumgarner, correct?
Yeah, Marlins. I like the Marlins.
We'll bump the Marlins to 5 runs. We'll do that. And then the Phillies, you didn't mind. I don't want to put the Phillies too crazy. We'll put them up to I don't know. Let's go 4.5. I think that works. And we'll get a little bit more.
Especially if you're fading Robbie Ray. I mean, if you're fading Robbie Ray today, play some Phillies. You get that double leverage situation where Robbie Ray is going to have some ownership. So the Phillies come out and pound them. You're just leaping so many teams. I mean, just immediately leaping so many teams. It's such a great. I mean, if you're ever, to me, like one of the key strategies in MLB DFS, if you're ever fading a popular pitcher, which Robbie Ray will be popular tonight, play the offense. I mean, it's a double leverage situation. You're fading that pitcher and you're getting an unowned offense that goes off.
Yep. Oh, I think it makes a ton of sense for sure.
Yeah.
So when I make those changes, I'm going to apply them, and then let's see what happens. So it's going to load up the projections. It's going to readjust them all. Where again, I don't have to go through and manually do it. I'm not manually going to make a mistake. It's just going to basically, hey, these are the offenses I like, and I move them up. And so I'm going to do that. And then once I do that, I want to go into the builder and change up a couple other stuff. So we'll go into here. We're going to get it off the cash stuff because who's playing MLB cash right now? We want to play the GPPs. We want to ship. So let's go to the so we'll do it for like a 20 max. Let's just do it for 20 max. Yeah. That works. We'll make 20 lineups. I'm going to make the pool size 300 rather than 500. So it goes a little quicker. I'll put 2 uniques on. Why not? We'll change it up a little bit with that. Run it for entries of 10,000 to 50,000 people. That works. And then let me see if there's any other rules I would want to include. So like this tab, there's a lot going on here. You can see at least certain players from one team. The one thing about SaberSim is it kind of knows hey, if you're playing in this contest, if you're playing in a 20 max, it's going to give you 5-man and 4-man stacks. Now let's run it and see. If it doesn't do that, then maybe we'll go back and run it with the rule. So also there's the thing that says allow batters versus your opposing pitcher. Well, we don't have that clicked. If it was like a 2-game slate, we might click that. So that's a little thing just to note. But let's put this in. Let's start the build and see what happens. So it's going to run here. While it's running, how about you tell the people a little bit how they can upgrade to SaberSim, what the cost is, stuff like that, just because I know you said you've had some people asking lately, hey, they're trying to sign up for SaberSim and want to let the people know how they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have an official promo right now going, but if you're a member and you reach out and want to add SaberSim, we can work something out with you. So definitely reach out to me in Discord or wherever, email, whatever you want to do, and talk to me about adding. We're always willing to work with people, so don't hesitate to ask.
All right. And Captain said, if you click the manual mode, it shows the variance and everything. Yeah, that's true. I should have showed that as well. That's definitely something I couldn't go back and show if we go to it, if I remember. So let's see what we got so far. So Hoop, we have a lot of Severino, it looks like. I'll say that. Yeah. But we only have 20 teams. So like a lot is, let's see, 80%. So it's definitely pumping Severino in there. Another thing too, if I move down, and we should have probably mentioned this, if you move down the offense, like let's say I move down Toronto from 3.3 to like 2.5. Well, that's going to help my pitchers, right? That's going to move those up too. And on the flip side, if you move with the offense, then it's going to hurt those other pitchers. So they might not pop in as much. So that's something else you can tinker with there.
So we got a lot of Verlander Severino combos.
Yeah, I'm going to sort by pitcher now to see. So it's like that way you can have it all separate. And hold on, I'm struggling here. Let's get it over. Yep, there we go. Typically, we're zoomed in for you guys so you can see it. When I'm not zoomed in, normally I can just see it all, so it's easier. So yeah, 80% Severino, 65% Clevenger or Verlander, 25% Clevenger. Giolito is on 20%, Nola on 5%, Wood on 5%. So now all you got to do is like, Hoop, is there anything that sticks out? Like Nola, I feel like I want more Nola or Wood, right? So then what I would typically do is, and I have a lot of Severino right now, so you can move his projection down, or you can just say, hey, based on like ownership, he's going to be I see 19.5% here. So if I believe that is the accurate ownership, what I typically do is I just go in and I say, all right, give me a max of like, I'll do like max of 60%. And then I'll do min of like 30. That way, so
two ways to do it real quick is, you go in there and say, I want at least X of this guy and I don't want more than that. Or if you really want more Nola, you just go down there and you bump his projection and it will automatically give you more Nola. Now, if I'm very specific about ownership percentages and what I want out of a guy in terms of ownership. So, what you did there is something that I would probably do. If you're new to it, if you just bump Nola's projection, you're just naturally going to get more of him into your lineups. And I would make sure I get more Nola here because I like him personally. And, 5% is just not enough for me on a pitcher that I like.
Yeah, I bumped Nola to 20 min, and now it's at 25%, which looks a lot better. I would want a little more Wood too. Like I think I'd want to get it to 15 at least. Maybe even more. Let's see. I like to see how it all, you can mess with this until you get it right, until it's like the way that you want it to be. So let's see. Now I have 15% Wood, 15% Giolito, 25% Nola, 35% Clevenger, Verlander's at 50. And the Severino one I'm down to move. Like I can move like that down even more. Like I'm going to make the max.
What's his projection on there? Like what's his projection?
His projection's like really high. That's why. So like
So that's why he's popping so much. So he's projected. I can't see the number on there, but he's probably projected higher than a guy like Nola and Wood. So that's probably why he's showing up in a lot of these.
And that's why I cap it sometimes. Sometimes I just put the cap on because if you want to do it the way that you like, and I kind of like to do it this way too. And I don't always do it that way. Sometimes I'll go in instead of doing the cap, I'll just bump down his projection, right? Like I'll just bring it from 22 to 18 or whatever. So
multiple ways to do it, like we just talked about in terms of getting the ownership right.
Yeah. And I change it around based on like what I think is like the easiest way to do it. And I felt like it was easy to, and I kind of like want to just get overweight on all my pitchers like this. So, and when we do it this way, like one thing I'd probably do is I'd probably take the Giolito and I personally would cap it at the 20. And now it's probably going to give me a little bit more Wood, or it's going to give me Nola. Let's see what I'll probably just I would min Nola. I'd min Wood to 20. That way I have like 20% of every single guy at least. I feel like I'm overweight on every single guy pretty much all around. And then I'm good. So that's kind of the way that I would do it personally. Like if this would be my 20 max setup, I would have 50% Verlander, 40% Severino, 35% Nola, 35% Clevenger, 20% Giolito, and 20% Wood. Maybe the only other thing I'd change is maybe I'd move Clevenger down. Like if I don't like my offensive mix, I'd be okay maybe moving him down to 25 or 20%. And that way, if I like want to get more of like a Verlander or a Nola, that's kind of how I would do it. But
yeah, just one more point. If you're playing a tight player pool at pitcher, which we are and which we do most days, make sure that you're set up to get paid off if they do well. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to make sure you're getting enough exposure to the guys. Like, you don't want to play, if you're running a tight player pool, you would never really want to play any of those guys at like 5%. You want to make sure that you're getting leverage on the field on almost all of these guys, which, we are now with the new adjustments made. Like, I would not run a tight player pool and not get overexposed to any of those guys.
Yeah, the only guy we might not be, and if you look at this leverage column, this is what tells you, right? And this is at the time being. I don't know what the ownership is going to be, but right now it's saying, hey, Giolito's going to be 25%, and this is like technically I'm not fully leveraged on.
That's close enough. Yeah, we're in the ballpark.
I'm in the ballpark, and you're not always going to get everything perfect. And like that number might not be correct. I'm kind of not buying the 25%. Of course, it's early in the day. We have tons of time, and that's something you can adjust later on. But that just kind of gives you the gist of it. Now, I don't go through each position. I care about the stacks the most too, right? Like that's what matters the most here. So what I typically would do, and one thing I already like seeing is like, I don't have a hitter above like 45%, which I think is fine. I don't think I love having like hitters at like 80%. I just think sometimes you like overexpose yourself too much. Yes. You can easily set a max on like your hitters if you want. I don't do that, but I try to hope it just organically happens a little bit when I kind of go through it. But let's look at the stats and see which stacks I kind of have right now. And if you look, 45% of my stacks are 5-3s. 40% are 5-2s. And I have 5% 4-3s, 5% 4-4s, and then 5% 3-3-2s. Now, if I don't like, let's say I only want to play the 5-man stacks, all I have to do is click 0. Like I go to this 3-3-2 and I click 0 and it's gone. I won't get any of those stacks. None of them. Man. If I only want to run 5-3 stacks, you know what you do? Mid exposure, and you just go here and you type 100%. You have all 5-3s. Typically, what I like to do is I like to have a mix of 5-3s, 5-2s, and 5-1s. Like typically that's what I like to do. Depends on the slate. I think either way, as long as you're 5-man stacking, you're good. I would typically go in here. Maybe I do like 50% 5-3s, 30% 5-2s, and 20% 5-1-1s, right? That's a perfect way I think you can do it. What's your kind of thoughts on that? Would you just leave this how it is, or would you kind of get rid of those like 4-3s, 4-4s? I know you hand build more. So do you ever end up hand building teams that are 4-4s?
Usually not. I made 12 teams last night. I did have a 4-4 in the Miami Arizona game, just because the way the lineups came out, and I had to shift something because Miami's lineup came out late.
It came out too late, and you probably were kind of stuck.
Yeah, and I was kind of stuck in a weird spot, and I already had like my pitchers locked in, so I had to play a 4-4. But typically, I don't. I mean, we've seen this season, every season, like the right way to go about it is doing 5-man stacks. I don't mind like a 4-3-1, 4-4s occasionally, but a majority of your teams for sure, I would say, should be 5-3s, 5-2s, or 5-1-1-1s. It's just what's been winning, and that's the right way to do it. But I don't think you have to fully eliminate, a 4-3-1 or a 4-4.
Well, I eliminated the 3-3-2. I got rid of it. So that's gone. That's out the window.
And it depends what contest you're in too. If you're in higher stake stuff, you can get away with, not full stacking. But in these large field things, like you're gonna need most likely like 5-man stacks. And I'm assuming last night it was Angels and Giants, like Big T said. It was probably a 5-3, which with Angels and Giants. That would be my assumption. That one.
Now let's look at the team. Let's look at the teams, and it's going to show you what teams that we have stacked right now, like which ones are there. So we got the Mets, 50%, Philadelphia, 45%. 45 is a lot. Like I don't need 45. I don't think I need that much leverage. I'm happy to move that down. So what I typically do is I just say, give me a max, just so I make sure I get them too in the future, which I think I should, but it depends. I'll typically just be like, hey, I want to make sure I don't lose Philadelphia completely. So what I do is I'll put like a minimum of 10, and then I just put a max of 20. And I think that's fine. I think you're good there. So the Philly
situation, you just don't need much Philly to get over the field. Their stack is probably, their batters are probably going to be between like 5 and like 8%, I think, tonight. Like last night, they're in a better spot and they were like 6%, almost all of them. So tonight it's probably even lower on a bigger slate. So it's probably like a 5% team. So like you're way by just 20%, you're way over the field. I think if you did 15%, you're way over the field.
Yeah. So we got right now it's giving us 20. We're fine with that. Other two teams that are popping there. The one that's popping in there that we weren't like high on was Kansas City. So like,
yeah, that's an interesting one. I wonder why they're
I'm assuming it's got to be a little bit projection based, and then maybe it's some salary and like catcher just not being great with Salvador Perez against the lefty. That's the only thing I can think of.
Interesting.
Well, here's the other thing. So actually, this might be why. I think I figured it out. So you can look at each stack. So let's see the 5-mans. I bet you the Kansas City stacks, I bet you they're more 2-mans and 3-mans. So if you look at 5-man stacks, look at that. 5% KC. Yeah. So you have 55% Mets, you got 10% Phillies in the 5-mans, 5% Marlins. And so now you look at the 4-man stacks. There it is, KC. So when you look at the 2-man stacks, KC, 15%.
Salvador Perez and then someone else most likely on those teams.
So I'm fine with that. But one thing I do think I might change is like 30% Yankees. I mean, I guess that's fine. Maybe you don't have to up that. I was thinking of upping it, but I don't know. This setup doesn't seem too bad, like overall. And like if you want to, like, let's say that you want more 5-man stacks. Like again, one thing I think you need to look at is we have no 5-man Yankee stack. So if I want a 5-man Yankee stack, you know what I do? I go into the projection here and and I put a minimum of 10 Yankee for 10%. That way, now it's going to shoot it in there for me, and I'm going to have 10% Yankee stacks. Typically, I don't think it's. Yeah, there we go. It popped in now. It takes some time. Now it has 5%, so it hasn't pushed it through yet. But I can find ways to tinker in and get to the 10% if I want to. But that's something to look at that I think is smart. And sometimes I don't know if you do this, Hoop, but I mean you hand build it, so it's probably a little bit different. But you can also scroll through the teams and just like see like let's see that Yankee stack, that 5-man one.
Yeah,
if I do a 5-man,
this is the part I think is super important to go do an eye check. Come through and see, what your teams look like.
Yeah, and I want to see the thing I want to know about the Yankee stack. I bet it's at the bottom because I forced it in, so it's probably like the last team. Yeah, it's the last team.
It is, yeah.
Now I want to make sure on the Yankees. Now this is not a Yankee stack. I think I could get behind. Hoop. Now I'll explain why because I could just tell with my eyes right now.
You're missing out on the upside. If you're only going to play like one or two Yankee stacks, you need the guys that can hit the bombs. Like LeMahieu's not a guy I want in there. Kiner Falefa is not a guy I want in there, and probably Aaron Hicks is probably a guy I would not want in there.
Yeah, so I don't love that. That's where you can mess with groups and kind of figure all that out. But that's something like you can also just like get rid of this team and then like try and get another one in there. It's something I'm not like a 150 or 20 max like MLB lineup person that's great at that. So one thing I'll say is like that's where like putting some work in and like trying to figure out like what the right mix to be able to get that going is, because leaving up close to lock, that's something that you have to kind of adjust and get in there. But I do think that like that's one thing I noticed is like I don't like how this Yankees stack is set up. Like I would want to make sure I have a different one. Maybe I just go in. I mean, the only problem is you can't just go in and bump Aaron Judge, right? Because then it'll mess up all your projections. It'll pop in a lot more stuff. So that would be one of the concerns there that I have. But yeah, I think one thing is just going through and looking at these like setups and seeing like, hey, like this Met stack right here, this one's not bad. I mean, it gets you, at least it gets you Lindor and Canha and Nemo. Yeah, it's missing out on Pete Alonso, but that's still fine. Like I'm okay with that. This one, it gets Pete Alonso, Lindor, like this one's got a strong amount of like their power bats. And then it's got that 3-man Royal stack mixed in. So I think there's a lot of good setups that you have here. Hope if I missed anything, I mean, I don't know what else to talk about. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to discuss. I mean, you could dive deep in this optimizer for a while, but what's some other stuff I might have missed?
Yeah, I mean, I actually learned quite a bit myself from doing this show. I mean, the main thing I can say in terms of, what you're doing with building your teams is, make the stands. I mean, when you get to this stage and you're looking at your stacks, you don't want like 5%, 10%, 5. You don't want a 5%, 10% all the way through. You want to take some stands like going, Mets heavy. Yes, the Mets are going to be own today, but we're playing 45% teams with stacks of the Mets. You're immediately over the field. I do agree with your point. When you're looking at the individual hitters, you really don't want, especially on a fuller type slate, you don't want to be in that like 80% range. You don't want to be all in on like a hitter. If he goes 0 for 5 or 0 for 4, your night's over. And that can happen for even the best hitters against the worst pitchers. So I agree with some limitations on that as well. But, as always, make your stands. We made our stands here at pitcher, only had 6 in there. That's the one thing that you can do, and we talk about it on the shows too. We go through and talk about each pitching tier. More times than not, we're on a tight core of pitchers, so that's one way that you can immediately be different than the field.
All right, one thing they're saying is they said, let's see, click on the plus sign and it only shows that team stacks. Oh, I see what you're saying. So you can go, let's try this. Oh, I see. So if you only want to look at Mets stacks, you'd be like, oh, let me just see the Mets stack. Okay. Yeah. Back to where I was scrolling with the Yankees thing. Yeah.
So you could finally, just.
I will say the one thing I still don't do enough in Saber is using the plus sign. I don't know why. I just like it's not something I like to use for some reason. Yeah. I even in NBA, I remember like doing stuff and like out of my buddies be like, just hit the plus sign. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. That's the thing, Hoop. You get like, you're a creature of habit of like the stuff that you do once you kind of start using it. So, but definitely something that I could use more. Like if I just want to see the Yankee stack, what I can do is I can just go here. Shows me all the Yankee stacks, right? Here, let's see. So we do that. Scrolling, and then we see that last one that I talked about, that 5-man. And if we get rid of it, let's see. Pop it out there. Cool. Now it gets rid of that one. Readjust some stuff for you. Then you can click yes to fill out the 20 lineup. So now it'll refill it out for you. And again, it takes some time and it's lagging a little bit because we're probably doing screen share and everything. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how you do it. That's how you kind of get the Saber Sim going. And, I think it's a very helpful tool for you guys. And hey, if you're in the Discord chat, people will help you out if you have advice and stuff. If you're like, hey, I'm struggling with this. We also have a chat where it's just the Saber Sim coordinators. If you add them over there, they will help you out if you're having any issues or have any questions. So that's another reason to go sign up over at Run Pure Sports. Hoop, I guess the final thoughts here, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really good breakdown of just the process of going through and building teams from start to finish and what those teams should look like in the final product. So, like I said, I actually learned some stuff here just from you, kind of walking through it. We'll have our normal content all day today for the MLB, the NBA show later. We have PGA stuff starting obviously today with the PGA show. Just keep on moving forward. That's what we're doing here, picking winners, and it's a lot of fun.
Sounds good. That'll wrap it up for us in the morning show. Thanks a lot for joining. For me, Mangone and Hoop, we will see you guys later.